For years, I thought I could stop overthinking by thinking harder, more information, more planning, more preparation. But the question that finally started breaking the cycle was incredibly simple. What am I truly afraid of? Because a lot of overthinking isn't really about the decision. It's about what you're afraid might happen if you make it. For example, if you're asking yourself, should I start? Should I post it? What if I choose wrong? What if this isn't good enough? What if I'm judged? What if I mess up? What if I fail? Those kind of questions usually have pain attached because we're so afraid to feel that pain that we don't even give ourselves a chance to actually go after our dreams or what we want or even try. We convince ourselves that by procrastinating, we're actually trying to find clarity, but sometimes we're actually trying to eliminate risk. In this video, you're going to learn why more thinking often makes overthinking worse, how shadow work reveals the fear underneath it, and how to move even when you don't know whether you're making the perfect choice. See, bro, the first thing I had to understand was that I couldn't think my way out of a problem that thinking was creating. So what I'm going to tell you today is stop trying to think your way out. You're going to put yourself in a loop. You're going to give yourself anxiety. You're just going to keep going in a cycle that goes nowhere, bro. I need you to act, make a decision, own it, and let yourself find out if this works or not. I can't tell you how many mistakes I've made from wrong decisions, but it led me to the right decisions every single time. You know, when I was living at my parents' and I wanted to move out, I was so afraid to make a decision to move to Sedona, Arizona, but I knew I had to do it and I knew I was going to figure it out. I went to a retreat there, and after that retreat, that's when I realized I wanted to stay. I could have overthought that so easily, bro, because I could have said, I don't have the funds. I don't have X, Y, and Z. I have my whole life back in Chicago. Easily could have overthought it. But I just knew in my heart and my gut that I had to make this jump because I couldn't go back. And the fear of not moving out of my parents was greater than the fear of the uncertainty, figuring it all out in Sedona. I mean, that was the first road trip I even went to. I drove there in my Camaro for 24 hours, pretty much straight. It was crazy, but I could have easily not done it. I just decided. And also, after so long of overthinking, you get to the point where you know you got to make the decision and it's now or never. And I say that because if you're thinking too much, you're probably not acting. Because you see, when the mind is speeding up, the answer isn't necessarily more information that you need. It's often quite the opposite. You got to slow down, get out of your head, get back into your body, then move. You know, when I made that jump, I took 3 days at a hotel to figure things out because I had no idea what the hell I was going to do. But I gave myself time. I bought myself time to figure it out. Crazy how the universe, the world helps you. One of the employees there, on the last day, actually, on the third day, that morning, I went to get in a workout and he catches me and he says, hey, bro, here are all the lists of the cheapest motels and hotels around here. He did the research for me, bro. I was so grateful. I had no idea about the cities around Arizona. And he gave me a whole list with the pricing and everything. And that's how I eventually decided to go to Flagstaff and stay there for a little bit. But the support that came in, the trust that created for me was unbelievable. But I had to slow down. I had to give myself enough time just to see the next move. I didn't overthink it. I trusted my gut so much and I did what made sense. And again, the overthinking usually comes from fear. What are you afraid of, bro? Because you're afraid to fail, you're never going to give yourself a chance to actually try. You're never really going to do. And you'll just have the prep work and procrastination be the reasons why you don't act on your dream. You don't start building your business. You don't take that leap. You don't take the risk. And it's funny because overthinking creates the illusion of progress. If you feel like you're working because you're researching, you're comparing, you're planning, you're asking everybody for their opinion, maybe you're watching another video, maybe you're rewriting the plan, but nothing in reality is changing. Bro, you gotta be honest with yourself. And here's the thing, thinking gives you hypothetical information. Action gives you real information. You have to have the hands-on experience. When I wanted to be a coach, I assisted, bro. I put in so many hours, not only assisting, but giving out free sessions. I was in it. I was getting the experience, right? I was learning. I was seeing what really helped people heal and become better. And I remember I helped this lady stop smoking weed and she couldn't do it for years. And after 3 weeks of working with me, she stopped because we addressed the core issue. If you don't address the core issue, you're going to keep going through the symptoms. When I was drinking every other day, I have a bottle of Bombay, I wasn't solving my real problem. The real problem is that I had so much pain from what I was going through at that point in my life, which was getting cheated on, getting a DUI, which got me a breathalyzer installed in my car so I couldn't drive without blowing into the freaking breathalyzer. I lost all my friends. I was broke. I was depressed. I felt like nothing. I felt like a loser. And that's why I was drinking. But until I address all those, when I say address, I mean feel, break down, cry, let it out. Until I did that, I kept having the symptoms. Some people it's food, some people it's cigarettes, whatever it is, bro. But until you do the shadow work, the inner work, you're just going to keep doing the same thing. And I was addicted to pre-workouts for some time. And it's just like, sometimes it is just a stimulant, but you're trying to get a feeling from something external at the end of the day. In our reality, bro, you're trying to help people or whatever it is you're trying to do, or you're trying to make content. You can spend 3 weeks wondering whether the video will work, or you can post it and find out. You can spend 6 months wondering whether the business idea is good enough or test the offer. I've gone through all this, bro. I've hesitated. I've waited. I remember one time when I even just wanted to go into this line of work of helping people and helping them find their power, helping them heal, helping them see the true potential. I had to ask for permission because I didn't trust myself enough to go and do what my heart was telling me. I knew I was an entrepreneur. I knew I was a creator, but I didn't have the success that other people had. I remember asking my first mentor, hey, bro, I want to go help people like you do. You changed my life. His story, his knowledge that he shared on his videos helped me change the whole trajectory of my life. And I wanted to give back. And I told him, I'm living at my parents. Like, am I qualified? Who am I? And he replied, go, go, go. Are you kidding me? I was completely caught off guard because he's like, move fast, bro. I told him I will. I swear on everything I will. And I remember breaking down, getting emotional at that point because I was asking for permission for what I already knew I wanted to do. And I knew more than I gave myself credit for. That's the thing, bro. Should have just made a decision, see what happens. Instead of procrastinating and going back and forth with myself and overthinking, it, it just stalled everything, bro. And I was like, I got to create the perfect video, this and that. And here's the thing about that. Sometimes optimizing becomes another form of avoidance because in our reality, there's always going to be another opinion or strategy available. Eventually, information creates diminishing returns because your mind starts inventing problems you haven't actually encountered yet. Just make all this stuff up, bro. You ask yourself, what if this happens? What if they say this? What if they say no? What if the world rejects me? What if I choose the wrong thing? When you're deep in this loop, leave the phone, go for a walk, bro. I like to work out too. And like those are like my kind of meditations. They clear my mind. I used to walk every day, first thing in the morning. I would get all these ideas. I would be in this flow state. That's the state you got to get back to. Get back to your flow state, bro. Breathe, do breath work. That's helped me tremendously in the past as well. Maybe you got to change environments. Maybe you got to stop consuming certain information. Then identify one physical action you can take. Just ask yourself, what is my next logical step? Not the whole plan, just one action. And I want to help you go deeper. Ask yourself, why does your mind need so much certainty in the first place? Because, bro, here's where the shadow work is needed. Here's where you have to ask yourself, what am I truly afraid of? Here's what you came here for. You see, you get to a point where overthinking stops being just a productivity problem. Sometimes overthinking is protection. You're not really afraid of choosing option A instead of option B. You're afraid of what making the wrong choice might mean about you. So again, bro, ask yourself, what am I truly afraid of? Pause the video, take 5 minutes, just free flow, write down the first things that come to mind. Don't just accept the first answer as well. Go deeper and deeper. Maybe one thing is, I'm afraid the video won't work. Go deeper. Why would that be so bad? Maybe you say, because people won't watch, because people will judge me, because they'll reject me. I'll be seen. That's something I've struggled with, being fully seen. Because every time I was myself, I'd get ridiculed, I'd get judged, shamed, all these things that happen to you as a kid. You become afraid to fully be seen, to fully express yourself. Other people tell you how to be unconsciously. You create your own mental cage. You never give yourself permission to be you, to be the real you. And that's the problem. Ask yourself, why is this scary? Maybe you feel like you're not good enough at whatever you're doing yet. Dig until you have that aha moment and where you're like, there it is. This is it. For me, it was fear of failure. I had two very conflicting beliefs. You see, I wanted success, but if I got success, that means that I wouldn't be a failure anymore. And that's what I believed deep down because of my past conditioning, because of my bad grades in school. So I had these two parts, these two beliefs pulling me left and right. But until I went into, and again, that's how I found out getting bad grades in school, never feeling enough for my parents, always thinking like I'm doing something wrong. And that fear freezes you. When you're so afraid to fail, when you're so afraid to get it wrong, you're not going to put yourself in positions where you can receive really good opportunities or actually have the success that you want because if you fail, here comes that feeling, right? Until I went into that and I realized I wasn't a failure, wasn't a loser. I can't get it wrong. And if I did, I fix it. Then that fear no longer controls you. You start to tap in your true power, into your true power. You start giving yourself permission to be the real you because you're no longer allowing trauma and what happened to you dictate who you are, what you're capable of. That's when you start really gaining momentum in your life. You have to find the real core issue. And before I realized that I was running away from this fear of failure, that I thought I was a failure, I thought I was a fuck up. And that was the first thing that I found. And as I went deeper, yes, it's the failure aspect of it. I felt this way because I wasn't where my parents thought I should be, right? I wasn't living up to their expectations. And that's the thing, bro. Nobody can tell you you're a failure but yourself at the end of the day. Unless you accept other people's opinions of you, oh, that you failed, then you lost. But who is anybody else to tell you that you're a failure when you're trying and you're building and you're trying to find your way? It's made up, bro. Don't let anybody tell you that or convince you of that because you're following your path, your journey. Maybe you want to build something. Maybe you want to be an entrepreneur, whatever it is. How is it that somebody gets to dictate whether you failed or won? Right? Think about that. And the thing about the fear of failure is that when you make it your identity, you really start to self-sabotage because you think you're a failure. You think that's who you are. To go even deeper, maybe you're not scared of failure itself. Maybe you're scared failure will confirm something you've already secretly feared. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not capable. Maybe everybody else was right. Maybe this dream isn't for me. And this is where you tend to lean into perfectionism because of all these thoughts. Think about it this way. If making a mistake feels like evidence that you're a failure, of course you're going to overthink everything. And when you have the fear of doing something wrong, you want certainty because certainty feels like protection from shame. Maybe your parents lashed out on you every time you did something wrong. So now you make sure you're perfect. You can't get it wrong because there's going to be a traumatic, negative consequence. For me, that was my mom. If I did something wrong, even though it was a mistake, I would get lashed out on. And that stuck with me for a very long time. And when this kind of stuff happens, you start to think to yourself, if I can find the perfect strategy, if I can know this will work, if I can make sure nobody criticizes me, then maybe I don't have to experience that feeling. But life doesn't offer that guarantee, bro. Now I want to share with you a shadow work prompt. All right. This is going to help you tremendously. When you catch yourself overthinking, ask, what am I truly afraid will happen? And if that happened, what would I make it mean about me trying to avoid something? Find out what that is. Maybe some answers could look like, if it fails, I'll look stupid. If they reject me, I'll feel like I'm not enough. If I choose wrong, I'll regret it. If I succeed, people will expect more from me. If I become visible, people can judge me. See, now you're getting into the real conversation. Remember this, bro. Overthinking often isn't an attempt to make the perfect decision. It's an attempt to avoid an uncomfortable emotion. A lot of times it's failure. And here's the thing, bro. Once you see the fear, there's one more thing you have to do because shadow work without action can become another form of overthinking. I need you to give yourself permission to be wrong. Stop treating every decision like it's your one shot. Bro, I have failed and failed and failed. I've had launches that have gotten little to no results. A lot of mistakes that I've made on my journey. The thing is, once I stopped seeing them as failures, I stopped identifying with them as such Because there's no such thing, bro. It's made up. Failure is just a meaning that we give to something to validate what we actually feel internally about ourselves. Change the way you see failure, and you'll start getting control over your life again. You're going to have an infinite amount of chances to get it right. That's why I live by this quote, fail fast, because faster you realize what doesn't work, faster you're going to get to what actually does. You're going to have many shots. Like I said, man, I've learned so much just from my failures or things that haven't gone as planned. And I'm still here. If you're watching this, you're still here. You're still in it, bro. You're not done. You have to get to a point where failure doesn't define you anymore and it doesn't validate something that you feel about yourself internally. It's a belief at the end of the day, too. Stop thinking, I have to get this right. All it does is create more pressure. It creates perfectionism, and perfectionism creates hesitation. Hesitation creates overthinking. Instead of asking yourself, what is the right decision? Ask yourself, what decision gives me the next piece of information? Now, you don't have to predict your entire future. You only have to take the next step. The next video doesn't have to define your career. Bro, right now I'm on this road to 50K followers and all of my videos are getting like 5, 6, 9 views. Like, I were to look at that and say, all right, I'm failing and stop, I'll never get to where I want to be. But because I know it could take 1, 2, 3 years and I'm committed to it, I don't care how long it takes. I'm showing up. I'm learning what I have to learn. I'm equipping myself. I'm learning about thumbnails, titles, descriptions, all the things that matter about YouTube, right? You got to learn what actually matters within the field or the thing that you're trying to build so you can do it to the best of your ability. And I've gotten it wrong so many times. That's why I love what Eric Thomas says. He's the number one motivational speaker in the world right now. He says, get to a point in your entrepreneur journey where life is about stamina. How long can you keep going? I know what's coming, bro. I might get 5 views for the next year. This is what I'm committed to. I've decided. If you haven't really decided, then you're going to quit. That's the reality of it. Because if your heart's not really in it, if you don't really want to live that dream, you're going to stop. Sometimes it's good that you stop because you find out, hey, you know what? This isn't for me. There's something better. That's what happened when I was building my personal training studio. I thought that was my life purpose. I was going to have many personal training studios. That was going to be my thing, but it fell apart within the first year and a half that I did it. But I learned so much, bro. I learned so much. My business foundation, my sales foundation, my entrepreneur foundation was set because of that year and a half. So it wasn't a waste at all. I had to go through that. And it's funny because at the end of that, and sometimes you don't really see it when you're in the moment, but at the end of that, after a year and a half, I thought my life was over. I thought I was just going to work a 9 to 5. I was done. I'm never going to try to build again because I failed at my purpose. And it's funny what the mind does, but it's bullshit. Didn't fail at anything. So I'm telling you, man, don't let one thing kill your dream. Be the reason you sign yourself off. You got more chances. You're getting closer to what you actually want. But you just got to stay in the fucking game. You got to keep walking your path. You got to keep showing up. That's why you got to love what you do, bro. And if you don't, maybe it ain't for you, but you got to find out how far you can take it and commit. And commitment looks like 3 years, not 3 months. So again, your next video doesn't have to define your career. Your next business idea doesn't have to become a billion-dollar company. One failed offer doesn't mean you can't build a business. One rejected application doesn't define your ability. One mistake doesn't mean you've chosen the wrong life. Most clarity arrives after movement, not before it. You don't need certainty to move. You need enough belief in yourself to know you'll be okay if you're wrong. You're going to figure it out anyway. It doesn't fucking matter if you're wrong. You're going to do it until you get it right. Now, the deeper cure for overthinking is not becoming someone who always makes the perfect decision. It's becoming someone who trusts themselves enough to recover from an imperfect one. You know that no matter what happens, you got it. You'll figure it out. You'll get it done. Right? It's not a big deal, bro. If you got to pivot, every imperfect action gives you new evidence. And you start thinking to yourself, I can make mistakes and keep going. I can be judged and survive it. I can fail without becoming a failure. I can adjust. You know what? I have it in me. I can win. I can do this. Nobody else is more special than me. This is how the old fear loses control. So the next time you find yourself with 15 tabs open, asking everybody what they think, trying to predict every possible outcome, stop and ask yourself, what am I truly afraid of? find the fear underneath the thinking, then take one imperfect action anyway. Because you're probably not one more thought away from clarity. You're one courageous action away from new evidence. And if you're realizing that fear of getting it wrong, failing, being judged, or not feeling good enough has been keeping you trapped in your head instead of moving toward the life you actually want, that's exactly why I created Courage Unleashed. It's designed to help you uncover the limiting beliefs underneath that fear. Stop letting them dictate your decisions and build the courage to actually take the risks, make the moves, and follow through on what you know you're capable of. So instead of spending another year thinking about the life you want, you can actually start building it, bro. And right now, Courage Unleashed is more than 50% off. I'll leave the link below. And remember, you don't have to know that you're making the right decision. You just have to believe in yourself enough to know that you'll be okay if you don't.